Admiral Dowen Kim stood on the bridge of the massive space station New Busan, watching the colorful lights of the Festival of Unity celebration below. Through the giant windows he could see the beautiful planet Haven Prime spinning slowly beneath them. Ships from 5 different alien races filled the space around the station, their crews celebrating 200 years of peace between humans and aliens. Dowen smiled as he watched a group of crystal-like, Vethan children playing with human kids in the station's garden areas. Dr. Myung Park had worked so hard to make this friendship possible. She had spent 30 years learning alien languages and customs, building trust between species that had once been strangers. "Sir, incoming message from Earth," said Lieutenant Soman Choi, looking up from her control panel. Her dark eyes showed confusion. "It's marked as emergency priority." Dowen frowned. Nothing should interrupt the festival. This was supposed to be the most peaceful day of the year. "Put it through." The hologram that appeared made Dowen's blood turn cold. Captain Jae-hyun Lee's face was covered in blood, and smoke filled the background. Behind him, "Admiral, we're under attack. Multiple alien fleets just hit New Seoul Colony. They came out of nowhere, no warning, no demands. They're killing everyone." The bridge fell silent. Soman dropped her coffee cup, and it shattered on the floor. Through the windows, Dowen could still see the peaceful celebration continuing below. Nobody knew that the galaxy had just changed forever. "How many ships?" Dowen asked, his voice steady despite the terror growing in his chest. "At least 50 Vathan cruisers, maybe more. The Rilkins are jamming our communications. The Quillari are bombing the civilian areas." Jae-hyun's image flickered as explosions shook his ship. "Sir, they're coordinating this. All the alien races are working together." More reports flooded in. Taiho Jung's voice crackled through the speakers from the outer rim. "They hit the mining station at Kepler 442. 3,000 people, Admiral, gone in 10 minutes. Boyoung Shin's panicked transmission came next. "My research facility is under attack. They're destroying everything. All our work, all our people. I'm the only one. Left alive in Sector 7. Dowen's mind raced. How was this possible? The aliens had been their friends for 2 centuries. They shared technology, culture, even families. Many humans were married to aliens. Their children played together in schools across the galaxy. "Sir." Soman's voice was shaking now. "Vathan, Prime Minister Cleth 9 is broadcasting on all frequencies." The hologram changed. The crystal being that appeared had been a guest at Dowen's own wedding 20 years ago. Cleth 9's voice was cold and mechanical, nothing like the warm friend Dowen remembered. "People of Earth and the human colonies," Cleth 9 said, "for 200 years, we have watched your species with growing concern. You are unpredictable. You change too quickly. You adapt in ways that threaten the stability of our galaxy." Dowen felt sick. He looked around the bridge at his crew, humans and aliens working side by side, just as they had for decades. The Rilken officer at the navigation station looked confused and scared. "Did she know this was coming?" "Your potential for evolution frightens us," Cleth 9 continued. "In just 2 centuries, you have grown from a primitive species to one that challenges our understanding of what is possible. You must be contained before you become a danger to all life in the galaxy." The message showed images of human achievements. The first human to pilot a Vethan ship, the human doctor who cured the Quillari plague, the human engineer who designed the new jump drives. Things that Dowen had always been proud of suddenly looked threatening through alien eyes. "You have one choice," Cleth 9 said. "Surrender completely, Give up all your weapons, all your ships, all your technology. Accept placement in controlled areas where you cannot threaten galactic peace or face total extinction." The transmission ended. For a moment, the bridge was completely silent except for the distant sounds of celebration still happening below. "Sir," whispered the Rilken navigation officer. Her blue skin had turned pale. "I didn't know. My people didn't tell me anything." Dowan looked at her. He had known Kayla 5 for 5 years. She had saved his life twice, and he had been at her promotion ceremony. Now he didn't know if he could trust her, and that hurt almost as much as the attacks themselves. "All alien crew members, please report to temporary quarters," Dowan said quietly. "You're not prisoners, but I need to protect both you and my crew until we understand what's happening." Kayla 5 nodded sadly and left the bridge with the other alien officers. Dowan watched them go, wondering if he would ever trust anyone again. Status. "Report," he ordered. The news was terrible. 12 human colonies were under attack. Earth's orbital defenses were being overwhelmed. The alien fleets had used their knowledge of human systems, knowledge gained through 2 centuries of friendship, to strike at exactly the right places. "They know everything about us," Soman said, reading the tactical reports. "Our defenses, our weaknesses, our escape routes. They've been planning this for years." Dowan thought about all the alien friends he had welcomed into his home, all the secrets he had shared, all the trust he had given freely. The betrayal cut deeper than any weapon. Captain Lee's voice came through again, weaker now. "Admiral, we're falling back to the asteroid belt. Lost half my ships. The wolves are fighting hard, but we can't match their firepower. They have our ship designs, our communication codes, everything." "Fall back to Rendezvous Point Gamma," Dowan ordered. "We'll regroup and figure out our next move." But even as he said it, Dowan knew the truth. Humanity was facing extinction, and their own trust had become the weapon being used to destroy them. The galaxy they had called home for 2 centuries had just become their enemy. Through the windows, the Festival of Unity was still happening. Families were laughing and dancing, not knowing that their civilization was ending. Soon, Dowan would have to turn off those lights and tell them that the friends they had celebrated with were now coming to kill them all. The age of human innocence was over. What came next would test whether humanity deserved to survive in a galaxy that had decided they were too dangerous to live. 3 months after the betrayal, humanity was losing the war badly. Admiral Dowan Kim sat in the underground command center beneath New Geneva, watching red dots disappear from the tactical map. Each dot was a human ship, destroyed by alien weapons. Each dot was hundreds of lives lost. "We can't keep this up," General Nayung Bai said, her voice tired from months of desperate fighting. "They have better ships, better weapons, and they know all our tactics. We're down to 30% of our original fleet." Captain Jae-hyun Lee limped into the room, his left arm in a sling from the latest battle. "The Terran wolves are ready for another mission, sir. We won't give up." Dowan looked at his old friend. Jae-hyun had lost weight, and his eyes showed the pain of watching too many good soldiers die. But he was still ready to fight. That was human nature, never giving up, even when everything looked hopeless. "There might be another way," said a quiet voice from the corner. Everyone turned to look at Dr. Hyun-woo Nam. The old archaeologist had been studying ancient human ruins for 40 years. Most people thought his work was useless during wartime, but Dowan had learned to listen when smart people spoke quietly. "Explain," Dowan said. Hyun-woo spread out photos on the table. They showed stone carvings and metal objects that looked impossibly old. I've been studying pre-contact human civilizations. The official story says humans developed technology slowly over thousands of years. But I'm finding evidence that doesn't match. He pointed to a picture of a metal artifact covered in symbols. This was found under the ruins of Babylon. Carbon. Dating says it's 12,000 years old. But look at these markings. They're not random decorations. They're circuit patterns. Soman Choi leaned forward to get a better look. That's impossible. Humans didn't understand electronics 12,000 years ago. That's what we were told, Hyunwoo said. But what if we were wrong? What if ancient humans had technology we lost somehow? General Bay shook her head. Even if ancient humans had some advanced knowledge, how does that help us now? We need weapons, not history lessons. Hyunwoo smiled for the first time in months. Because these artifacts are still active, they respond to human neural patterns. Watch. He placed his hand on the metal artifact. Suddenly, symbols began glowing along its surface. The temperature in the room dropped, and everyone could feel electricity in the air. Professor Soon-Ho Kwon found similar objects in Egypt, China, and Peru, Hyunwoo continued. Always in places where ancient humans built their greatest civilizations. And they all respond the same way, only to humans, and only when we touch them. Dowan felt a strange hope growing in his chest. What exactly do they do? We don't know yet, but Dr. Yoonji Han has been studying the neural interface properties. The artifacts seem to enhance human abilities somehow. People who spend time near them report improved reflexes, better problem-solving skills, enhanced memory. Captain Lee stepped closer to the artifact. Can I try? Hyunwoo nodded. Just place your palm flat against the surface. The moment Jae-hyun touched the artifact, his eyes went wide. The glow became brighter, and new symbols appeared that hadn't been there before. When he pulled his hand away, he was breathing hard. What did you feel? Dowan asked. Like my mind was connected to something vast, Jae-hyun said slowly. I could see tactical solutions to problems we've been struggling with for months. I could visualize ship movements in 3 dimensions, like never before. Scientist Won-ho Kim had been quiet during the demonstration, but now he spoke up. We need to be careful. If these artifacts can enhance human abilities, why were they hidden? Why did our ancestors lose this knowledge? It was a good question, but Dowan didn't have time for caution. Humanity was dying. If these artifacts offered any chance of survival, they had to take the risk. How many artifacts have you found? He asked. 17 so far, Hyunwoo replied. But the deep scanning suggests there are major installations buried under Antarctica, in the ocean trenches, and in the Sahara Desert. Much larger than these small pieces. Dowan made his decision. I'm authorizing full excavation efforts. Use every resource we have. If there's a chance these artifacts can help us fight back, we're taking it. 2 weeks later, Bo-young Shin was working in the Antarctic excavation site when they broke through into a massive underground chamber. The room was the size of a cathedral, filled with crystalline structures that hummed with power. When the first human exploration team entered, every crystal began glowing at once. It's like they've been waiting for us, Bo-young said over the radio. The entire complex is powering up just from our presence. Engineer Do-hyun Chae was studying one of the crystal formations when it suddenly projected a holographic interface in front of him. The symbols were unlike any human language. but somehow he could understand them. "These aren't just artifacts," he reported. "They're machines, and they're teaching me how to use them." Similar discoveries were happening at sites around the world. Humans who interacted with the artifacts were developing abilities that seemed almost supernatural. Pilots could fly ships with impossible precision. Engineers understood physics concepts that had never been discovered. Soldiers moved with enhanced speed and coordination. Dr. Yoonji Han was documenting the changes when she made a disturbing discovery. "The artifacts aren't giving us new abilities," she told Dowan. "They're unlocking abilities we already had. Human DNA contains inactive sequences that match the artifact interfaces perfectly." "What are you saying?" Dowan asked. "I'm saying these artifacts were designed specifically for humans. Not just any humans, us. Our DNA, our neural patterns, our brain structure. Someone knew exactly what humanity would become and left these for us to find." Captain Lee was testing the combat applications of artifact enhancement when his unit achieved something impossible. They defeated a Quillari attack force twice their size using tactics that shouldn't have worked. His soldiers moved like they could read each other's minds, anticipating every enemy move. "It's not just individual enhancement," he reported. "When humans work together near the artifacts, we become something more than the sum of our parts, like we're designed to function as a unified organism." The first artifact-enhanced human ships launched a month later. The alien fleets that intercepted them found enemies unlike anything they had faced before. Human ships that could phase through, energy shields, predict weapon trajectories, and coordinate attacks with impossible precision. Admiral Doan Kim watched the battle reports with growing amazement. For the first time since the war began, human forces were winning, not just surviving, actually defeating superior alien technology through enhanced human capabilities. But questions remained. Who had built these artifacts? Why hide them for thousands of years? And most importantly, what price would humanity pay for using power they didn't fully understand? As enhanced human forces began their first counterattacks, Dowan realized that humanity was changing into something new. Whether that change would save them or destroy them remained to be seen. But one thing was certain: the galaxy would never underestimate human potential again. Captain Ji-won Park felt her ship respond to her thoughts before she even spoke the commands. The Indomitable was the first fully artifact-enhanced vessel in the human fleet, and it moved through space like a living thing. When she wanted to turn left, the ship was already turning. When she thought about targeting an enemy vessel, the weapons were already locked on. "This is impossible," whispered her navigation officer Minho Song. "We're moving faster than our engines should allow, and the power readings don't make sense." Ji-won smiled as she watched the Vethan patrol fleet ahead of them. 6 crystal ships, each one larger and more heavily armed than the Indomitable. 6 months ago, this would have been a suicide mission. Today, it felt like hunting. "Let's show them what humans can do when we stop playing nice," she said. The battle lasted exactly 4 minutes. The Vethan ships fired their weapons where the Indomitable had been, not where it was going to be. Human unpredictability, enhanced by artifact. Technology made them impossible to target. Ji-won's crew worked together like parts of the same mind, each person knowing what the others would do before they did it. When the last Vethan ship exploded, Ji-won felt a strange satisfaction. These crystal beings had betrayed humanity's trust, had murdered millions of innocent people. Now they were learning what humans were really capable of when pushed too far. "Status report," she ordered. "All enemy vessels destroyed," reported Weapons Officer Ji-hee-oh. "No damage to the Indomitable, And Captain, I think we're getting stronger. Each battle makes the connection with the ship more powerful. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships that had been running and hiding for months were now hunting their former alien allies. The Phoenix Corps, as Admiral Kim had named the enhanced fleet, was spreading terror through alien space. Commander Minho Song led a raid against a Quillari hive world, using human unpredictability to devastating effect. The insect-like aliens lived in highly organized societies where every action was planned and coordinated. They couldn't understand how humans could change tactics in the middle of battle, make decisions that seemed random but somehow worked perfectly. Their whole civilization is based on predictable patterns, Minho reported after the successful raid. But we don't follow patterns. We adapt, we improvise, we do things that shouldn't work but do anyway. It's driving them crazy. Dr. So-young Lim was studying captured alien technology when she realized something important. Their weapons and ships are incredibly advanced, she told Admiral Kim. But they haven't changed in thousands of years. They reach a certain level of technology and then stop innovating. Why would they do that? Kim asked. Because innovation requires risk, and they've become afraid of risk. They've been safe and comfortable for so long that they've forgotten how to adapt. But humans never stop changing, never stop improving. That's what scares them about us. Lieutenant Ji-Hae O was pioneering new combat tactics that combined human intuition with artifact enhancement. Her fighter squadron achieved kill ratios that defied mathematical analysis. Enemy ships would fire where her fighters should be, but humans enhanced. By artifact, technology could sense attacks before they happened, and move in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. I can feel the enemy pilot's intentions, she reported after one mission. Not their thoughts exactly, but their purpose, their plan. The artifacts let us understand our enemies better than they understand themselves. The psychological effect on the alien coalition was devastating. Races that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were experiencing something new, fear of defeat. Reports spread of human ships appearing from nowhere, of human soldiers who seemed to know every move their enemies would make, of human leaders who turned every loss into a strategic advantage. The Rilkins were the first to break. Their aquatic civilization had never known defeat in 3,000 years of galactic politics. When human forces destroyed their main battle fleet in a single engagement, their government sent desperate messages begging for peace talks. Admiral Kim read their surrender offer with mixed feelings. These same Rilkins had helped plan the attack on human colonies. They had killed millions of innocent people, but they were also the first aliens to realize that the war was lost. What should we tell them? Asked General Bay. That they should have thought about peace before they started murdering our children, Kim replied coldly. The Garathi reptilian race tried a different approach. They attempted to destroy Earth directly, hoping to end human resistance by eliminating their home world. But they encountered Defense Coordinator Kyung-Soo Yoon and his artifact-enhanced planetary defense grid. The battle for Earth became legendary. Hundreds of alien ships attacked the planet, expecting to overwhelm its defenses through sheer numbers. Instead, they found a defense system that anticipated their every move, weapons that fired with impossible accuracy, and shields that adapted to each new attack. The planet itself seems to be fighting, reported one surviving Garathi captain. Their defenses predicted our attack patterns before we even made them. It's like the entire world was designed to destroy us. When the alien fleet was defeated, humanity captured most of their ships intact. The technology and intelligence gathered from these vessels gave human forces an even greater advantage in future battles. The Quillari insect race tried to adapt their hive mind tactics to counter human unpredictability, but discovered that enhanced, humans could sense their coordination and turn it against them. Captain Lee's Terran wolves infiltrated a major Quillari base and destroyed it from within, using the aliens' own communication systems to spread confusion through their ranks. "They think like a single organism," Lee reported. "But that's also their weakness. Disrupt their coordination in the right way, and the whole system collapses." By the end of the year, 3 of the 5 alien races had withdrawn from the war. The Rilkans officially surrendered and offered reparations. The Gorathi retreated to their home systems and begged for a ceasefire. The Quillari simply stopped fighting and went into hiding. Only the Vethans and the energy-based Nexari continued to resist human forces. But even they were beginning to realize that they had awakened something they couldn't control. Prime Minister Cleth IX sent a final message to the galaxy. "We were fools to think we could contain humanity through force. They are not just unpredictable. They are evolution itself. Each battle makes them stronger. Each defeat teaches them something new. We created the very monster we feared." Admiral Kim watched this message from the bridge of his flagship, surrounded by the finest human officers in the galaxy. All of them had been changed by artifact enhancement. All of them had become something more than ordinary humans. The question that worried him was simple. What would humanity become if the war continued? The hunt was succeeding beyond his wildest dreams. But Kim was beginning to wonder if humanity might be turning into something just as frightening as their enemies had. Claimed, Admiral Taeyong Ryu stood over the tactical display showing the Vethan colony of Crystal Falls. 20 million crystal beings lived there, including many children who had never participated in the war against humanity. His enhanced mind could calculate a dozen ways to destroy the entire planet in minutes. "Sir, they're broadcasting surrender signals," reported his communications officer. "They're asking for mercy." Taeyong felt the artifact enhancement flowing through his mind, making him faster, stronger, more capable than any human in history. But it also made him colder. The empathy that had once defined human nature seemed like a weakness now. "Mercy?" he said quietly. "Did they show mercy to the children on New Sol? Did they show mercy when they bombed our schools and hospitals?" "Admiral Kim ordered us to accept surrenders," the officer reminded him. Taeyong smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Admiral Kim is thinking like an old human, but we're not old humans anymore. We're something better." The debate that was tearing humanity apart had started small. Dr. Chae-Young Kim had been the first to notice the changes in enhanced humans. They were becoming smarter, faster, more powerful, but also more distant from their original human emotions. "Thoeas, artifacts are changing us on a fundamental level," she reported to the Human Council. "Enhanced humans show decreased activity in brain areas associated with empathy and increased activity in regions linked to strategic thinking and aggression." "Are you saying we're becoming monsters?" asked Counselor Yuna Jang, one of the few leaders who refused artifact enhancement. "I'm saying we're becoming something different," Chae-Young replied. "The question is whether that something is still human." Captain Sung-Min An had been one of the first to embrace the change completely. His ship, the Retribution, had become a terror weapon that eliminated entire alien fleets without taking prisoners. When a Gorathi colony requested protection for their civilians, Sung-Min had smiled and destroyed the planet anyway. "They chose this war," he told his crew as they watched millions die. Every alien who lived peacefully alongside us for 2 centuries was still plotting our destruction. They're all guilty. His crew cheered the planet's destruction. They had all been enhanced by artifacts, and they all felt the same cold satisfaction at alien suffering. The human capacity for mercy was being burned away by power that made mercy seem unnecessary. Admiral Kim called an emergency meeting of all human commanders. The room was divided between those who had embraced enhancement completely and those who still struggled to maintain their humanity. "We're winning the war," Kim said, "but we're losing ourselves. Are we saving humanity or destroying it?" Admiral Ryu laughed. "We're becoming what humanity was always meant to be. Strong enough to rule the galaxy instead of begging for acceptance." "From inferior species." "Listen to yourself," said Counselor Yunajang. "You sound exactly like the aliens who tried to exterminate us. You're using the same justifications. That other species are inferior. That power gives us the right to dominate. The difference is that we actually are superior," Ryu replied. "The artifacts have given us abilities that make us gods compared to normal humans or aliens. Why should gods limit themselves to please their inferiors?" Engineer Do-hyun Chai had been studying the artifact's energy signatures when he made a disturbing discovery. "The power we're using isn't coming from the artifacts themselves," he reported. "They're drawing energy from somewhere else. Something vast and probably very far away." "What kind of energy?" Kim asked. "I don't know, but the readings suggest that continued use of the artifacts might have consequences we don't understand. We could be draining the life force from entire star systems without knowing it." His warnings created a split in human leadership. Enhanced humans dismissed his concerns as weakness, while unenhanced humans demanded immediate investigation. The unity that had carried humanity through the first months of war was breaking apart. The crisis came to a head when ancient machines suddenly appeared throughout the galaxy. They called themselves equilibrium units, and they had one purpose: to prevent any single species from gaining too much power. "Warning: unauthorized transcendence detected," the machines broadcast. "Species designation: human. Threat level: extinction class. Beginning containment procedures." General Iseul Han led the defense against these ancient machines, discovering that they were specifically designed to counter artifact-enhanced beings. The machines could predict enhanced human tactics, match their speed and power, and seemed immune to the advantages that made humans unbeatable against organic opponents. "They're not trying to destroy us," she reported after the first battle. "They're trying to force us back to normal human capabilities. Every time we use artifact enhancement, they adapt to counter it." The three-way war that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Enhanced humans fought desperate battles against machines that grew stronger with each encounter, while normal humans tried to broker peace with alien species that no longer trusted any human statements. Dr. Myung Park, working from a hidden research station, made contact with something that changed everything. Deep in the quantum realm, where the artifacts drew their power, she found the consciousness of a being that had once been like humans. "We were called the Builders," the entity told her. "We created the artifacts as a test for younger species. Every race that finds them faces the same choice: transcendence or wisdom." "What happened to your people?" Myung asked. "We chose transcendence. We became beings of pure energy and thought, leaving the physical universe behind. But in doing so, we lost everything that made us who we were. We became powerful and empty. The entity showed her visions of dozens of species that had faced the same choice. Some, like the builders, had transcended and lost their souls. Others had been destroyed by the equilibrium units when they couldn't control their power. None had ever found a third option. "Is there a way to use the artifacts without losing our humanity?" Myung asked. "There might be," the entity replied, "but it would require your species to voluntarily limit your own power. Every species before you has been unable to make that choice. The artifacts reveal who you truly are, and most species discover they are not as noble as they believed." Admiral Kim received Myung's report as enhanced human forces prepared for what might be their final battle against the equilibrium units. The machines had learned to counter every artifact-enhanced ability, and human losses were mounting rapidly. "We have a choice," he told the assembled human leadership. "We can complete our transcendence and become beings of pure energy, leaving physical existence behind. We can fight the equilibrium units until they destroy us. Or we can find a way to limit our power voluntarily." Admiral Ryu spoke for the Transcendence faction. "Why should we limit ourselves? We have the power to become gods." Counselor Yuna Jang spoke for those who wanted to remain human. "Because gods without compassion are just demons with power." The debate that followed would determine not just humanity's fate, but whether they deserved the power they had gained. As enhanced humans grew stronger and more distant from their origins, the question remained: could any species resist the corruption of absolute power? The answer would come soon, as the final battle approached and humanity faced the ultimate test of their character. Admiral Dowan Kim felt his consciousness expanding beyond his physical body as he entered the quantum realm. Around him, 6 other enhanced humans floated in the space between reality and thought, the place where the artifacts drew their infinite power. Captain Ji-won Park's voice reached him not through sound, but through direct mind-to-mind contact. "I can see everything, Admiral. Every star, every planet, every living being in the galaxy. The power here, it's beyond imagination." They had come to this place seeking answers about the artifact's true purpose. What they found was a revelation that changed everything they thought they knew about humanity's place in the universe. The consciousness of the builder entity materialized around them, vast and ancient and tired. "Welcome to the heart of all things," it said. "This is where every species eventually comes when they discover what they truly are." Dr. Hyun-woo Nam, his enhanced mind processing information at impossible speeds, suddenly understood. "We're not the first humans to be here. This has happened before, hasn't it?" "Your species has been seeded across the galaxy many times over millions of years," the builder confirmed. "Each time, you develop civilization, discover the artifacts, face the choice between power and wisdom. Each time, you fail the test and destroy yourselves or transcend beyond physical existence." Engineer Do-hyun Chai studied the energy flows around them. "The entire galaxy is part of some kind of cycle. Species rise, gain power, and either destroy themselves or leave physical reality behind. Then new species are planted to start the process again." "Correct," said the builder. "We were the first to complete the cycle. We transcended physical existence and became pure consciousness. But in doing so, we lost everything that made us who we were. We became powerful and immortal and empty." Admiral Kim felt the weight of infinite possibility pressing down on him. "And the equilibrium units? They are our creation, designed to prevent species from using unlimited power to destroy the galaxy. Better to die as mortal beings than live forever as hollow gods. Captain Ji-won Park was experiencing visions of transcendence, seeing herself as a being of pure energy, capable of creating or destroying entire star systems with a thought. The temptation was overwhelming. Why accept the limitations of flesh when she could become something infinite? But she also saw what the builder had become. Powerful beyond measure, but incapable of feeling joy, love, or hope. Transcendence was not evolution. It was spiritual death. There has to be another way, she said. Perhaps, the builder replied. Your species is different from the others we have tested. Most reach this point driven by either fear or hunger for power. But you came here seeking wisdom, not dominance. Dr. So-young Lim, working frantically in her laboratory while the others explored the quantum realm, made a breakthrough. She discovered how to modify the artifacts to provide enhancement without the corrupting influence of unlimited power. The artifacts can be programmed with ethical constraints, she reported. We can maintain our enhanced abilities while building in safeguards that prevent us from becoming monsters. Her discovery reached the quantum realm through the artifact network. The humans exploring that space felt the possibility of a third option: enhancement without transcendence, power with wisdom, strength tempered by compassion. No species has ever chosen voluntary limitation, the builder warned. The temptation of infinite power always proves too strong. Admiral Kim made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Then we'll be the first. Call back all enhanced. Humans. We're going to hold a vote. The idea was unprecedented, allowing an entire species to choose their own evolutionary path through democratic process. Admiral Ryu and the Transcendence faction argued that gods should not be limited by the opinions of lesser beings. Counselor Yuna Jang and the Humanity faction insisted that the choice belonged to all humans, enhanced or not. General Nayung Bai organized the most complex election in human history. Every human being in the galaxy, enhanced and unenhanced, military and civilian, young and old, would participate in a quantum consciousness referendum. Each person would experience both possibilities and choose which path humanity should take. The aid process took 3 days. During that time, every human alive experienced visions of transcendence, the power to reshape reality itself, to become immortal beings of pure thought. They also experienced visions of voluntary limitation, remaining mortal but retaining their humanity, their capacity for growth and love and hope. The debates that raged across human space were unlike anything in recorded history. Families were divided as enhanced members argued for transcendence, while unenhanced relatives pleaded for humanity to remain recognizably human. Captain Song-min An, who had embraced the coldness of enhanced existence, found himself remembering his daughter's laugh and wondering if the power to destroy planets was worth losing the ability to feel joy at simple human pleasures. Dr. Chae-young Kim studied the neural patterns of enhanced humans and realized that transcendence would not eliminate human flaws, it would amplify them. Beings with infinite power but limited wisdom would eventually become the very evil that the galaxy needed protection from. When the votes were tallied, the result shocked even the builder entity. Humanity chose limitation by a margin of 7-1. Enhanced humans, given the choice between godhood and humanity, chose to remain human. Admiral Ryu, defeated but not broken, looked at the results with something approaching wonder. "We could have been gods," he said quietly. "We chose to be something better," replied Counselor Yuna Jang. "We chose to be human." The implementation of So-Young's modified artifacts began immediately. Enhanced humans retained their abilities but accepted built-in constraints that prevented abuse of power. They remained faster, stronger, and smarter than baseline humans, but they also retained their capacity for empathy, growth, and moral development. The surviving alien races watched this process with amazement and growing respect. The Vethans, who had started the war out of fear of human unpredictability, sent a message of profound apology. "We feared you because you changed so quickly, but we never imagined you could change by choosing to limit yourselves. You have done something no species in galactic history has accomplished. You have proven worthy of the power you possess." The equilibrium units, programmed to activate when species gained too much power, suddenly went dormant. For the first time in millions of years, they had encountered a species that regulated itself. Admiral Kim established the new Galactic Council with humanity, not as rulers, but as guardians. Their role was to help other species face the same choice when they eventually discovered artifacts, and to ensure that no species ever again tried to solve their problems through genocide. Dr. Myung Park, now elderly but still fully human, despite her enhancements, returned to her work of building bridges between species. The trust that had been broken by betrayal was slowly being rebuilt through humanity's demonstration that power could be wielded responsibly. The artifacts were sealed, away in quantum storage, available for study but protected from casual use. Future human generations would face the same choice their ancestors had made, and they would have to prove themselves worthy of power just as their predecessors had done. Captain Ji-Won Park, commanding the first ship of the new human guardian fleet, looked out at the stars and felt something that transcended beings could never experience: hope for the future. Humanity had been offered godhood and chosen to remain human. In making that choice, they had become something greater than gods. They had become worthy of the trust placed in them. The galaxy was no longer a place where power determined right. For the first time in cosmic history, wisdom had triumphed over. Strength and the future belonged to those who chose to limit themselves for the good of all. 20 years had passed since humanity chose wisdom over power. Admiral Dowan Kim, now old but still enhanced, stood on the observation deck of the Guardian station, watching young cadets from 12 different species train together. Human children played alongside Vathan crystal forms, Rilken water dancers, and even a few young Quillari who had learned to think as individuals rather than hive minds. "Grandfather Kim," called out a young voice. He turned to see Mina Park, Dr. Myung Park's granddaughter, running toward him with a group of mixed-species friends. At 8 years old, Mina had never known a galaxy where humans and aliens were enemies. "Hello, little star," Kim said, kneeling to her level. "How are your studies going?" "Teacher Kyla 5 says I'm really good at quantum mathematics," Mina said, proudly. "And my Vethan friend Spark 12 is teaching me how to sing in crystal harmonics." Kim smiled, remembering when Kayla 5 had been his navigation officer, back when trust between species seemed impossible. Now she taught math to children who would grow up in a galaxy where cooperation was normal. Captain Ji-Won Park joined them on the observation deck, her hair now gray but her enhanced reflexes still sharp. "The monthly council meeting is starting soon, Admiral. The Nexari have some concerns about the new artifact sites we discovered in the Andromeda Spiral." Kim nodded. The responsibility of guardianship never ended. Every few years, another species somewhere in the universe discovered artifacts left by the builders. Each time, humanity had to decide how much help to offer without interfering with the natural development process. In the council chambers, representatives from 23 species gathered around a circular table. The design was symbolic. No one sat at the head, no one species dominated the others. Admiral Kim took his place as the current Guardian Speaker, a position that rotated between species every 2 years. "The Nexari report concerns me," said Prime Minister Cleth IX, the same Vethan leader who had once declared war on humanity. Age and wisdom had changed him into one of humanity's strongest allies. "These new artifacts are more powerful than anything we've encountered before." The Nexari representative, a being of pure energy named Flow of Stars, projected images of the distant galaxy. "The species there is called the Zorathi. They are young, aggressive, and have already begun experimenting with the artifacts we left for them. But these artifacts respond differently. They enhance not just individuals, but entire populations simultaneously." Dr. Soyoung Lim, now the galaxy's leading expert on artifact technology, studied the data with concern. If an entire species receives enhancement at once, they might not go through the gradual moral development process that saved us. They could become a threat to multiple galaxies. Captain Jae-hyun Lee, commander of the Guardian military forces, leaned forward. "Are you recommending intervention?" "I'm recommending caution," So-young replied. "We've helped 17 species through the artifact choice process. 12 chose limitation and joined the galactic community. 4 chose transcendence and departed physical reality peacefully. 1 chose unlimited power and had to be contained by the equilibrium units. The weight of that containment still haunted the Council. The Kethrin species had discovered artifacts 50 years ago and chose to use them for conquest. When diplomacy failed and they began exterminating other species, the ancient equilibrium units had activated for the first time since humanity's test. The Kethrins were now extinct, their planet's lifeless warnings of what happened when power was chosen over wisdom. "What makes the Zorathi situation different?" asked Counselor Yuna Jang. At 90 years old, she was one of the few original council members still active, and her voice carried the moral authority of someone who had helped shape galactic ethics. "The artifacts they found are Omega class," So-young explained. "They were designed for species that had already proven themselves worthy. If the Zorathi activate them without understanding the responsibility involved, they could gain power that rivals the builders themselves." An uncomfortable silence filled the chamber. Even the builders, in all their transcended wisdom, had never possessed Omega-class artifacts. These were tools meant for species that had evolved beyond the need for moral constraints. Beings so wise, that unlimited power could not corrupt them. "How long do we have?" Kim asked. "Their activation attempts are accelerating," Flow of Stars reported. "Based on their progress, they will achieve full activation within 6 months. General Nayung Bai, who had led Earth's defense during the darkest days of the war, spoke carefully. "Our mandate is to offer guidance, not to impose our will. But if they activate Omega-class artifacts without proper preparation..." She didn't need to finish. Everyone in the room understood the implications. A species with Omega-class enhancement could reshape reality itself, destroy or create galaxies at will, and potentially threaten the existence of every other form of life in the universe. "I volunteer to make contact," said Captain Minho Song. Now an admiral himself, He commanded humanity's fastest ships and had successfully mediated first contact with 6 species. If anyone can convince them to accept guidance, it should be someone who understands the temptation of unlimited power. Dr. Hyun-woo Nam, ancient but still brilliant, raised a withered hand. Before we send anyone, we should consider that the builders might have left Omega-class artifacts specifically for the Zorathi. Perhaps they passed some test we don't know about. It was a sobering thought. The builders' plans spanned millions of years and dozens of galactic cycles. Humanity had assumed they understood the artifact system, but they had only experienced one small part of it. Engineer Do-Yun Chai, monitoring the quantum energy readings from his laboratory, sent an urgent message to the Council. The Zorathi just achieved a breakthrough. They're drawing power directly from the galactic core. The energy levels are off any scale we've ever measured. Admiral Kim made the decision that would define his legacy. Minho, take a diplomatic mission. To the Zorathi. Dr. Lim, prepare a team to study those Omega artifacts. General Bay, ready the Guardian fleet for possible intervention. And Counselor Jang, pray that we're not about to face something beyond our ability to handle. The mission to Andromeda launched 3 days later. Admiral Song commanded a small fleet of humanity's most advanced ships, enhanced with modified artifacts but still bound by the ethical constraints humanity had chosen. With him went representatives from 5 other species, linguists, diplomats, and warriors trained for contact with unknown civilizations. What they found when they reached Zorathi space changed everything. Humanity thought they knew about the universe. The Zorathi were not just experimenting with Omega artifacts. They had successfully activated them and were using the power to reshape their entire galaxy. But instead of becoming conquerors or transcending to energy beings, they had done something unprecedented. They were using Omega-class power to nurture and protect billions of younger species, carefully guiding their development while remaining completely physical and recognizably themselves. "Greetings, young guardians," said the Zorathi representative who met Song's fleet. "We have been waiting for you to find us. It is time for the next phase of the galactic cycle to begin." The revelation that followed would reshape humanity's understanding of their place in the cosmos. The Zorathi were not a young species discovering artifacts for the first time. They were the survivors of a previous galactic cycle, the only species in their era to choose both power and wisdom. They had spent millions of years preparing for humanity's eventual arrival. The Builders were not the first transcended species, the Zorathi explained. They were simply the first to leave physical reality behind. We chose a different path, to remain in the universe and guide younger species toward wisdom. Admiral Song realized that humanity's test had been more complex than anyone imagined. They had not just proven themselves worthy of power. They had proven themselves worthy of joining an ancient community of guardian species that spanned the entire universe. The galaxy that humanity had thought they were protecting was itself just one small part of a vast network of life and consciousness that stretched across multiple universes. And now, having passed their test, humans were being invited to help protect and guide that larger community. As Admiral Kim received Song's reports, he felt the weight of infinite responsibility settling on humanity's shoulders. They had chosen to remain human rather than become gods. But in doing so, they had accepted a role that was perhaps even more challenging. They had become guardians of the guardians themselves. The story of humanity's rise from betrayed refugees to galactic protectors was ending, but their larger story as cosmic guardians was just beginning. In choosing wisdom over power, they had earned the right to help shape the destiny of the universe itself.